It's time once again for another episode of the Buckhead Business Show. Being brought to you by the Buckhead-Business-Association. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now, here's your host for today's episode.
All right, Rich Casanova alongside
Craig Williams.
That was your cue, yeah. We didn't talk about that beforehand.
Yeah, well, I can handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. So welcome to the Pro Business Channel studios overlooking our $1 Million view here in Buckhead. And on behalf of the Buckhead-Business-Association, who sponsors this show, make sure you check out their site at buckhead-business.org. And so we're tuning in, live streaming around the world as well as Buckhead. And Craig, so day so far?
It's beautiful, wonderful weather.
Right?
All we're missing is the water, and we're in Orange County,
Yeah.
man.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Since we're going to add...
And he's got the water. So.
Yeah. We're going to take this to the beach one day or whatever, yeah. But right now we're here in Buckhead. And let's go and just introduce a guest joining us in the studio for our second segment, Rick Hamilton. Been a long-time member of the B.A, right?
Good morning. I have been.
Yeah. And so you wear a couple of hats there.
I'm a proud realtor with RE/MAX Metro Atlanta, and I'm the co-owner of Domestic Comfort Furniture in Midtown.
Nice. And I think you did an offering. You have a venue there that folks can come check out, and the BBA may have some events there. Or?
We do. We have a beautiful 8,500 square foot retail space on Piedmont Avenue, right across from Piedmont Park.
Right. I kind of hesitated. I almost made an invitation to everyone listening to come on by and use the space for free, but I realized maybe that's not the right announcement. Yeah, I'll let you take care of that.
You could try. You could try.
All right, so before we jump to our first guest here in the studio, let our folks know, Rick, what's the best way to people to reach out to you?
Rick Hamilton, M.B.A, like most baffled always, at gmail.com.
All right, sounds easy enough. And so having said that, let's welcome our first guest to the studio, Fez, Moosa.
Hey, how we doing? How we doing, fellas?
Unbelievable,
well.
man. Yeah. Excited. This has been in the works for a while. Met you actually at I think it was an after-hours mixer for the BBA,
Sure
right?
It was. Do you remember where it was?
I think it was at 13 Pies, or no, it was before that one.
It was before that.
It was
Okay.
before that.
It was at our sushi place.
Yeah, sushi place.
Our joint, Heroku.
Oh, yeah. That was here on Food and Beverage Radio.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
So all good things begin and start here, yeah.
That's right.
And with
here.
sushi.
And they end somewhere else. We don't know where, yeah.
With sushi.
With sushi, yeah.
Yeah.
Or pizza, yeah. So, Fez, before we jump into your kind of bio and your backstory, again, the BBA, so we met there, and you've been to the breakfast, and now
a member?
Now you're official member, right?
A brand new member.
Well, welcome,
Very
yeah.
excited to be part of it.
Oh, absolutely. I know the BBA, and I can speak for the entire group. Everybody's excited to have you on board as a member. So, all right. So let's rewind now, and before we get into your business, what's your backstory before doing kind of what you're doing now?
Absolutely. First and foremost, Rich, you cannot beat that view.
I'm telling you, right?
You cannot beat that view.
Yeah.
We
rent it for $1.50 a half hour, yeah.
My name is Fez Moosa. I'm from good old Houston, Texas.
All right.
Went to school here in Georgia at Mercer University.
Okay.
Studied biochemistry there.
Oh,
all
man.
the things I could have studied.
I know you're
decided
using
to
a lot of
You
that
put me
today.
to sleep pretty quick, yeah.
That's right. You know, I go to my office, there's a $40,000 piece of paper, just has my name on it. I'm like, hey, that's nice to look at.
There you go.
Nice. And then,
A few more payments and you own that piece of paper, right?
That's
yeah.
right. Hey, it's nice, like mahogany
Oh,
and wood
big,
and
oh,
everything.
man.
No,
So what brought you from Houston to Atlanta then? Like you said, Mercer?
Mercer University brought me over. I wanted to play sports there, but as you can tell, I don't have the body for sports. Just
Soccer,
the face
man,
for the
yeah.
radio.
Nice. And so fast forward, you kind of jumped, put both feet into the financial planning arena and with the Piedmont Group of Atlanta?
Absolutely. I got started actually as a senior in college.
Okay.
My entire senior
Wow.
year, I did an internship with one of the renowned companies in the industry, and turns out it was my calling. Got top 10 in the nation, everything.
Dang.
Ready to rock and roll.
Wow.
Decided, hey, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor anymore.
Or an athlete.
Or an athlete, that's right.
You can always do golf. There's a couple of fallback sports, right? You know.
That's right.
Shuffleboard.
Yeah,
Curling,
I'll take you.
actually.
Yeah, I'll take you on. We need to get a ping pong table in here.
You don't
Yeah.
want none of this, buddy.
you don't
want
mess
any
with
of
Craig.
this.
Yeah. All right. So and so in the financial services industry for a while now, and you're specifically dealing with small business owners, which is right in our wheelhouse. Our middle name is business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what does the day look like in the life of helping those folks?
That's a great question, and I don't have a specific answer because it's dynamic. It changes on a day-to-day basis.
That's got to be fun.
When I get up in the morning, I wake up unemployed, and I got to pick up the phone.
Oh, wow.
No, but that's what I love about doing what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I'm working in between 10 to 12 hours because I want to be out there in front of good folks like yourself and helping them decide and advise them on the next best choice that they have, especially with market volatilities. What I'm talking about. There's so much going on.
You mentioned working 12 hours. Zig Ziglar once said, you can work here just half days. Yeah. Doesn't matter what 12 hours.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right. So then you diligently, as we mentioned, create a financial plan for those folks, including a map, kind of their financial, their money GPS, and probably more importantly, that bridge to helping folks and for the taxes and other issues, right?
Absolutely. More than anything, I'm a financial coach.
Okay.
Right? I can't use the example earlier. I can't take a horse to the water and make him drink.
Right.
But I can coach my clients around. Hey, here's what the next best step for you guys is professionally, personally, financially. Let's look at these tax allocations and go from there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to take action for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing and what it's going to help you do, but I can't help you if you can't help yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. So, how old is this company? I mean, I've heard of Piedmont Group. They have a location on Roswell, right?
Yeah. So the Piedmont Group is actually about almost 6 years old, but we're a subsidiary of Mass Mutual, which has been around since 1851.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost as long as you've been around, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Give it a couple more years. Yeah. So you have your series.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my licenses, got my insurance, my investments, all that good stuff. But that's not what it's all about, right? Because there's so many people out there that don't have any of that stuff that still talk professionally to people.
Most definitely. So what separates you outside of those
absolutely
great looks and that nice tie?
Absolutely. Like I said, I've got the face for the radio, right? But that's about it. What sets me apart, Rich, is I'm not doing what the rest of the people across the street are doing. Everyone across the street is creating a tax-efficient, diversified portfolio for all their clients, rebalancing every 5 years, and hopefully one day they have a high rate of return that they can retire on. That's a joke, right? Because sooner or later, you're not going to chase a rate of return. You want to chase the rate of distribution. So what sets me aside is I want to make sure that when my clients are 60, 70, 80, 90, they don't ask me questions such as, hey, Fez, am I going to outlive my money?
Right.
What kind of questions are they asking you, Fez?
The questions they're asking me today are actually, hey, are we going to outlive our money with this market volatility and stuff that's going on, with people not saving efficiently? That's what's going on. People putting money in the bank because they're scared something might happen. Well, that money's not going to do anything for you. Please go chase your return, right?
Gotcha.
Get the 6, 7, 8% in the market, but now what?
Gotcha.
Right?
So tell us this, and I know you're a brand new member at the BBA. What attracted you to the BBA?
The view. No, one of my good friends, Sharp Sablon, and I decided that we need to make a big debut in the Buckhead community. I've been in Atlanta for almost a year now, and I moved straight from Macon to Buckhead, and I decided the best way to get involved in places like these is to be in front of high, successful people just like myself, to be talking the same talk, walking the same walk. And then I ran to Smitha Solanki, and she told me a little bit about the Buckhead-Business-Association, and I was like, well, that was an easy sale. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, especially coming from Smitha.
Yeah, a little shout out to her. Yeah.
That's right. If you're listening.
If you don't know her, then you need to make make it happen. Yeah.
You need to know.
So another note for the conversation here, obviously we're in business. Talk to us about business succession planning.
Absolutely.
For those solo entrepreneurs or business folks.
Great question. A couple of weeks ago, I was at this MIT Enterprise Forum in Atlanta, which is your top 50 tech CEOs. And what they talk about is essentially, hey, here's how we started this tech business. Here's where we are today. But now what? Right? What do we do with this 7-figure product? Well, what we do, and when we do business planning for our clients, we look at their products and we say, hey, here's where you are today. And you've got a great idea behind this business. Let us create a map for you that step-by-step talks a little about here's what we're doing this year, here's what we're doing this year, here's what we're doing this year. And one day, when you still want to keep rock and rolling, but you're age 70, 75, 80, we got to make sure that you have a succession plan so that your business is still rocking and rolling without you being there.
Gotcha. So you're a B2B service provider, correct?
Absolutely. You can take that, but also do a lot of personal finance as well.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, all businesses are made up of individuals.
Correct.
But I, in your bio, I looked at your focus as business owners and business and financial planning. As an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, how deep do you get in with the business?
Good question, Craig. I get extremely, extremely deep when we're talking about what you want out of the business, right? When we're having a personal face-to-face conversation, we're not talking about tip of the iceberg stuff because that's what everyone else is talking about, right? Tip of the iceberg, give me your numbers, give me your financials, we'll figure something. No, I don't care about your financials. What I care about is what you want out of that business, what your family wants out of that business, what your loved one wants out of that business. So one day when you're not here, I can tell them exactly what your map and your bridge was.
Gotcha. So you begin with the end in mind, and the North Star is
absolutely. A lot of people in my business they start with here's what I do, and here's how we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. But great leaders they start with here's why I do it.
There you go.
Right.
And here's how we're going to do it.
Kind of the end game and more of the strategy rather than day-to-day operations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I remember early on when I heard this idea as an entrepreneur that a good business, a smart business owner or founder looks to an exit strategy early on.
Absolutely.
And that kind of hit me with a ton of bricks. I'm like, entrepreneurs, business, you're very passionate, excited about your business. It's your baby. It's your whole creative juices you put into this. And day one, you're going to, before you get your business license, what's your exit strategy? Well, I mean, that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right?
Well,
but
not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, for a single people, for the most part. But if you got kids, right, you have a different perspective because they're not going to always be with you. You just mentioned the word baby.
Right, yeah.
You've invested, you birthed it.
Yeah.
And it's not about holding and controlling. It's about flourishing and launching it out so other people can, because you're not going to always be here.
I'm not?
No.
Unfortunately. That's news to me.
Is this something you guys don't know? Something you guys know, yeah.
So, and they're in this day and age, a merger and acquisition, and if you're not collaborating this day and age, you're not going to sustain anyways.
Absolutely.
And multiple points going on there. Not only is it like that we won't be here when we exit, but what Fez was talking about, when you're in your 70s or 80s, you probably don't want to be overseeing and still try to even manage this.
Yeah.
Even have your hands in some capacity, but to have a true exit strategy where then you can divest yourself of that business that you've worked, put all your blood, sweat, and tears into, and then but have a secure financial plan.
Absolutely. And not only that, how long is a financial plan going to last after you're age 70, 80, or 90? Time Magazine released an article 2 months ago saying the first person to live to 150 has already been born.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, they have.
So when you're looking at financial planning, and yes, it's early, you're thinking about retirement before you're even born, but that's what we have to do today.
Yeah.
Because if you're living to 120, 130, 140,
right.
I mean, imagine that lady, Mrs. Virginia, that stopped at Obama's house, right?
Yeah.
What a beautiful lady, talking about how it was back in 1900s.
Yeah.
Right? And we're talking in today's time and how it's going to be 100 years from now.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a great succession plan, that lasts for at least 20, 30, 40, 50 years, then essentially what you're doing is saying, I'm
going to check out early.
I'm going to check out early.
You said stop by Obama's house. Did you mean
the White House?
Or
well, it changes name.
That is where he lives, right?
I just never think about that or whatever, right? But speaking of this idea of longevity and what they call centenarians, over 100, right? Yeah. I don't know if you deal with international clients or folks, whatever, but just a quick roundtable, we'll have each of y'all chime in. Where do you think the largest concentration of centenarians are, on what continent or what country? Or
I think I've read about it, and it's the Mediterranean.
Okay.
I would definitely say, Southeast Asia.
Right.
Yeah. I'd say the U.S. now. I've always felt it was
really.
It is. Yeah. It is weird.
It is the U.S.
I just heard that alert. I heard that on the news broadcast, and it's the last place you think. But there's more people per capita or just overall.
And I think it has to do with the lifestyles that we have now. I mean, here.
Not to mention the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably more the medicine. So I think probably there's better quality of life for those folks in Asian
for
countries,
sure.
right?
And
but we're on life support, at 111 or something, But meanwhile, so Fez, let our folks know best way to reach out and get in contact with yourself.
Absolutely. The best way to reach me out would just be to Google Faizan Moosa, Faizan Moosa. You'll get connected with me on my LinkedIn page. I'd love to help you answer as many questions you have regarding personal finance, corporate finance, or business planning.
We just connected on LinkedIn as well, so
we did connect on LinkedIn.
That's a place to.
You had a good picture. You look really good, Rich.
Yeah, better than here today. Yeah. All right, so Fez, pleasure having you in the studio and on the show. Hang tight here just for a minute while we turn our attention. Did I say whiles we turn our attention?
I like that. Wow. I like that.
Using some big vocab
here, from the 20s or something. Yeah. While we turn our attention to Rick Hamilton. And just reminding our listeners, you're listening to the Buckhead Business Show, sponsored by the Buckhead-Business-Association, that they can be found at buckhead-business.org. And we're broadcasting live, streaming around the world on our Pro Business Channel studios here in Buckhead. So Rick Hamilton joining us back on the program. So let's talk a little bit. Let's delve in and let's spend the next day talking about Rick Hamilton.
Okay.
How's that sound? Yeah.
Sure. No problem.
So, are you from Houston?
I'm not.
Where are you originally from?
I grew up in Philadelphia and moved to Washington, D.C. to sell mainframe computer systems to the Jimmy Carter White House.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's a trivia.
House.
At the other house, yeah.
That's Jimmy's house.
That was Jimmy's house.
It was Jimmy's house, yeah. Not Jimmy John's, but yeah. Sorry, but...
It's that BBA membership.
I threw you off.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
I spent about 25 years selling high tech in Washington. I ended up in the bowels of the Pentagon. With long haul fiber optic top secret circuits connecting the bases around the world. So I've interacted with people in super C-level positions in this country. I also used to work for the royal family in Saudi Arabia while I was still in college. So when I'm working with people that want to sell their home in Buckhead or buy a home in Buckhead, I'm used to working with people at a high level.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've known you for a while, did not know all that backstory. And what threw me off is you mentioned D.C. I've lived a lot of places around the country, but I'm a bit of a political buff and historian. I'd love to spend some time. Never really spent any time in D.C. That's got to be a very interesting dynamic in city. And
it is. And so I have this addiction I'm trying to shake, but House of Cards. We've binge watched the first 6 episodes, and we'll be through it by the end of the week.
All right. Take some good Cliff's notes and get back to me on that one. Yeah. So let's talk real estate for a moment. So obviously you mentioned licensed Georgia realtor, 20 years in the industry. And you're also in investment real estate, which would be an interesting conversation with Fez that y'all might have. But you're obviously in new home sales, resale, and property management.
We do property management because the folks that have their homes rented out at some point in time are tired of renting their homes and they want to sell.
Okay.
So it just leads to listings. It's a value-added service for our clients.
So for folks that maybe want to hold on to their home, you can manage it for a period of time?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Acting landlord.
That's an interesting, great service. And in addition to expensive in marketing and real estate with buyers and sellers. So what's the real estate market look like today? Here in Atlanta, I guess.
It's a very interesting time. It's definitely a seller's market because property values dropped so drastically during the recession. There's a lot of people that are still underwater. If they had to sell their home today, they would have to write a check at closing instead of receiving one. So they don't put their house on the market, which leads to a low inventory of homes for sale. And the laws of supply and demand say, okay, limited inventory, higher prices. So it's just a natural economic force that prices are going up. I'd say in the overall Atlanta area, we're looking at 8 to 9% appreciation per year, depending on the zip code that you're in.
Yeah. And those folks that are underwater didn't check with Fez beforehand, didn't have a plan in mind, right?
That's right.
Well, Fez probably can predict a recession with 100% certainty sometime in the next 100 years, can't you?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Sometime in the next 100 years.
Before the person hits 150. So talk to us about renting versus purchases. What's your school of thought?
Well, renting is good for people that don't know exactly where life is going to take them next.
That's all of us, isn't it?
Well, right. perhaps. But there's a huge downside to renting, and you're throwing your money out the window. You every month could be putting your money into an investment which is returning 8% a year. Fez, how many investments do you know about that are returning a pretty solid 8% a year?
You don't want me to get started on that conversation.
Exactly. And he can't because
For
of regulations.
compliance issues.
I'm pretty sure I'm licensed to do that, just not on the air. But no, I can understand. There's quite a few out there.
Plus tax benefits.
Absolutely.
You get to write off income or interest from your loan. There are many, many good reasons to purchase and very few reasons to lease.
Well, you have to live somewhere, right? But you don't have to buy stock in Starbucks unless you're that big of a coffee fanatic.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's just pointed to me. But
some listing tips.
We'll talk about this, but back to the renting versus. There are some definite upticks to renting, right? I mean, and not just millennials, but you a freer kind of lifestyle and gives you more options, and the market can be unpredictable, right? In terms of owning.
Let's look at the big picture.
Yeah.
Do you want to work for the rest of your 150-year lifespan? You don't.
I do.
Craig does.
Okay, Craig does. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, everyone else, yeah.
Most people want to retire at some point and enjoy themselves. Travel, play a hobby, sport, whatever. And so if you are throwing your money away on rent, you are pushing further out into the future the point at which you can retire.
Yeah.
So why not take a strategic tact and figure out how to spend money on housing so that you can make retirement happen sooner?
And speaking of that, retirement issues, do you have your hands in any of these reverse mortgages or people with their downsizing or, at that age?
I have a very good friend in broadcasting, actually. He has his own show on PBS, and he keeps asking me about reverse mortgages. And I have researched them and given him my 2 cents. And they work for some people, but you can get yourself into a world of hurt with a reverse mortgage. So you definitely need to consult with a professional like Fez and find out what the downsides and the upsides are.
Craig, I'm thinking Fez needs to pay us for all these plugs here or whatever, right?
He is.
Lock the door. Get his credit card on the way out.
Rice doesn't come free, fellas.
We're going to lunch. We're going to lunch.
Nice. So, I mean, yes or yes, and I know this is kind of a general statement, but would folks be smarter perhaps looking at more of a downside scenario if versus staying in their home or reverse mortgage? I know it's a case-by-case scenario, but they can kind of liquidate.
We see
right?
Tons of people that are downsizing.
Yeah.
The kids have grown up, gone off, doing their own thing. And now mom and dad are stuck in a 4-bedroom, 5.5-bath home out in the suburbs. And what do they need with 5 toilets? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You've got to air condition it, heat it, clean it, decorate it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to downsize and get to something that's more manageable and free them up for that spare hobby.
Yeah, but at a certain age, more toilets does help out. At a certain age, yeah. But speaking of that, but there's also the flip side of the trend where kids are now moving back in record numbers back into the home, right? So the empty nesters. So maybe that's another perk to downsizing. Sorry, kids, we're in a condo now. Yeah,
Sorry, can't, no room.
Yeah. No room at the inn. So Craig was mentioning this conversation about listing tips. So if I'm listening... Well, no, if I'm listening to the show and I'm thinking I need to list my home, I guess I need to practice my pronunciation. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. So what's on the short list there?
Well, you've got to get the home ready to make an impression because you are selling your home. And a few people that I've worked with have said, "Oh, my home is glorious, and everybody should just leap at the opportunity to purchase it." And when I look at it, I run away scared at what I've seen. The front door has to be in perfect condition. So when somebody pulls up or is just driving down the street at 15 miles an hour, they're not scared. It has to be a welcoming event. And then once you go through that door, the house has to have just a few things on every horizontal surface. It's got to be clean. It's got to be freshly painted. The lighting has got to be 1,000 watts. It's got to be really bright. Curtains open, blinds up. There's a science to listing and selling a house, and I am that scientist.
All right, nice.
Nice.
Matter of fact, I think on Business Authority Radio had recently a guest talking about home staging and design, right?
That's big business now. That's big business. Do you do any home staging at all, or do you
work with
have a
folks,
team?
We have people that do that for us, yes.
Yeah. And that just a simple point about cleaning. I mean, bring in a cleaning team, professionals, right? Because over a period of time, you get in the habit of just cleaning certain things, but bring in some outsiders from the home staging, right, to the cleaning professionals.
There's an app for it,
right? Make a world of difference.
Yeah, you can. There's an app for getting somebody to come over and clean your home.
Absolutely.
Just like that. Yeah.
So, but the app itself won't do it, though,
Yeah.
right? Unless a Robo,
Task
what's that
Rabbit.
thing?
Not yet.
What's that thing? The Robo, Roku, or that moves
The
around
Robo
and
cleaner?
vacuums?
Roko's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
TV thing.
Yeah, whatever.
Robo. Yeah, gotcha.
The Roomba?
Roomba, there it is.
That's what
yeah.
it is.
All right, yeah.
But
and curb appeal, right?
curb appeal is very important. I subscribe to the law of 7 Ps. Craig, do you know 7 Ps?
I know 7 Ps.
If you have 5 toilets, what's the math on
No,
that?
no. Proper prior planning prevents pretty poor performance.
That's it.
Solid.
And
Wow.
He got it right on the nose.
if you understand that to get the maximum price for your house, you have to plan and you have to have a series of action steps to get that maximum price. Then it's going to happen. But if you don't, it won't.
So was that an 8th P, the price?
No,
or
I think
was
it was 9.
Was that included
It was 9.
in there?
The plan and price.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Rule number 1, never correct our guests. Didn't we make that policy? Isn't that up on the board? Yeah. Our guests are always right, yeah. So some final thoughts on folks reaching out to a realtor. What should they look for in a good real estate agent?
Well, the vast majority of agents in the United States are not realtors. Back in 1906, our reputation was worse than used car salespeople. Of course, used car salespeople have come a long way, so have agents. And at that point in 2006, we founded a national organization. The first thing we did was to write a code of ethics. And everyone who belongs to the National Association of Realtors, who has that title, subscribes to that code of ethics. And so, number 1, make sure that the agent with whom you are working is a honest-to-gosh realtor.
And practicing, I remember at one point when I lived in California, statistically, like 1 in every 10 folks had a real estate license. But you can have a license but not be practicing, have the background to back it up, right?
Not in the state of Georgia. For the most part, the laws require you to have a license.
Yeah. But what I was talking about is the expertise, right? Because I can go down and get my license, but
yeah.
you have
Well,
to
the
bring
other
in
thing, the other thing about realtors is that we tend to have a lot of education. I have an M.B.A. And we tend to work way more full time. A lot of agents just do real estate part time, kind of a hobby.
and I was hoping to kind of jump back to the Jimmy Carter's house. And
It's Jimmy's house.
Yeah,
That's right.
you weren't involved in the listing for that, were you? Or
I think it's going to be a couple years before that happens.
maybe just a minute, 90 seconds here or so, maybe kind of wrap up. We'll actually let folks know, Rick, the best way to reach out and find you.
Sure. HamiltonFineHomes.com.
Okay. And gentlemen, how about a quick roundtable on the BBA, or what's on your mind?
I'd like to give my spot to Rick. I mean, he's one of the BBA. He's like the furniture there. So I'd like him to speak on behalf of the BBA.
All right, do it.
Well, I appreciate it. BBA has been a terrific organization to be a part of. We find customers there. We find suppliers there. I found my dentist there, and friends. It's easy to be in a big city and not really meet people and get to know them in an in-depth way. And I think at BBA, we're there every Thursday morning for 7:30 breakfast, and
except for third.
Except for third. And so we get to know each other a little bit more in depth.
Absolutely. Great speakers they bring in, some annual functions and events. Faizan, you remember the Young Bucks? Or
I am.
Okay.
I am a member of the Young Bucks.
Talk to us about the YBs.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just had an event last Tuesday at the W, which was amazing. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there. Like you said, the younger you start and stuff like financial planning, the better it is later in life.
Yep.
And so when I came on board Young Bucks, I said, hey, this is the best way to find clients and help people. And since then, I've been attending every event there is, even those 7:30 a.m. breakfast. It's a little bit earlier, but
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Fez is so dedicated. He's there on the third Thursday for breakfast. Just helps himself to the buffet or whatever, right?
And then just get the food
and then
leave,
goes to the after hours.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Just breakfast and drinks. That's all.
Yeah. And Rick, are you still on the membership committee group? Or
I am in the membership committee. I have a new task this year. I'm the unofficial chief information officer. Since I have an IT background, we're going to try to bring our database into the 21st century.
All right, well, let's make it happen. So thanks again for another exciting episode, a great lineup of guests and subject matter experts for the Buckhead Business Show. And if you're listening now live or the podcast, just go to buckhead-business-show.com. Just those three words, Buckhead Business, just add the word show.com and submit a guest request. And
Can I, just before we run...
can you say this in French? Apparently you speak conversational French.
S'il vous plaît, Monsieur Sam Massel, the former mayor of Atlanta, will be our guest speaker on May 7th, giving the 2016 State of Buckhead speech. He's a riot. He's fascinating to watch and listen to. And if you haven't been to BBA, that would be a great Thursday morning to come and visit.
And that's when they hand out the complimentary books of the Buckhead Guidebook, right?
Exactly.
And we're on page 79, I believe it is. Yeah,
Awesome.
Check us out, Pro Business Channel. We're in the book. It's official now.
It's pretty specific, Rich.
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us and our guests on the Pro Business Channel. Use the social media links here to share today's show and stay tuned for the next episode of the Buckhead Business Show. Brought to you by the Buckhead-Business-Association.